This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, welcome everybody to the EDIC meeting of July 15th, 2025. That is in fact the date. We are joined today by Building Commissioner David Gardner. Thanks for coming. I don't think we're going to take the whole time, but let's find out. Let's try not to. So we were sent June meeting minutes. I shared them this morning. Has everybody had a chance, everybody who's going to vote, everybody had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Lovely.
I'm going to make a motion to approve them since I'm so oppressed. I did them the day of the meeting last month.
You really did such a bang up job with those. We're very impressed. All right, so Cassie, motion to approve minutes. Do you have a second?
For second.
Yay.
Any further discussion? Great. All in favor, holler aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I am going to add Allison Manuel. Hello, Allison. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Sorry I'm late. I was at the City Space groundbreaking.
Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful. That's a big congratulations. Everybody pat yourselves on the back. City Space hooray.
Yeah, I definitely can't take credit, but I'm very happy for them.
Listen, you live here. It's great. We're all doing so well.
If it happens on your watch, you get to take credit.
Okay, there is nobody here from the public. We are unlikely to be joined by John Kostick today. He is our new Chamber of Commerce Executive Director, so we will look forward to meeting him in the near-ish future. Allison, you're here just in time. I don't want to put you on the spot unless you are ready to take that spot.
I mean, I can take it.
Great. What EDIC germane topics do you have to give us some updates on today?
Well, so I saw that later on the agenda. We have short-term rentals, so I don't know if you want me to touch on that now or hold off.
Yeah,
hold off on it. Sure, no problem. So I did submit 2 grants, I think, since we last met, and one was for wayfinding for the downtown area, and that includes not only like Cottage in Maine, but also Pleasant Street. So it covers hopefully all of the, the real business corridor, and fingers crossed we get that. It's a technical assistance grant. We unfortunately weren't able to get all the way there with the first plan that was done in 2020. So this hopefully will have some design specifications and other things that weren't done back then, and it'll put us in a better position to actually get the signs funded and installed. Funding is a question, but we'll cross that bridge. Looks like Tom had a question.
Allison, when you refer to downtown wayfinding, is that a specific area?
Yeah, so it includes Cottage Street, Union Street, Main Street, and Pleasant Street. So I know it's blurry, but the map behind me, the ECA, the Easthampton City Arts people had done, I think actually as part of the first wayfinding plan, it includes all of that. So it goes basically from the Ferry Street, Pleasant Street roundabout to the end of Cottage Street, and covers a little bit of the perimeter of that. So it's the whole downtown, not just Cottage Street. So anyways, yeah, hopefully we'll get that. And the other grant I submitted for was $150,000 to help with the master plan. We haven't had one done since I think it was 2007 or 2008. Can't recall. So it's been a long time, and that if we are awarded, we'll still need some matching funds. It's not a cheap process. It's a long process, and especially if you want it done right, and obviously we do. It'll be expensive, but worth it, I think, in the end. So I'm guessing we'll hear back from the state on those in September, October-ish. That's usually when they make their award announcements on this particular grant cycle. So we're just waiting until then. Also in the sort of downtown, in the Mill District, been working on the district improvement financing that was adopted. The district itself was created in 2017. The program was not implemented at that time. It was just the district was delineated, and it really just includes the Ferry Street Mills properties. And since I've started with the city, I was working with Mayor LaChapelle and with Mike Michon and Peter Serafino from Home City Development, who have some plans for building 11 on the site. Home City does for 92 units of housing. And the district improvement financing will help to pull together their overall financing for the project. It will help with some public infrastructure projects related to it. And that proposal now is before the city council. It just got referred to them last week, and we'll be meeting on that in the coming weeks. There's kind of a lot to it. I won't go into too much detail at this point unless you want me to. But the idea is that the tax revenue that those properties generate over the next 30 years will be reinvested directly back into that district. So whereas normally property tax revenues go into the general fund to fund, overall city business, these will be fed directly back in. And what it does is it allows you to borrow against that future revenue. And that is what the mayor requested before she left, was to borrow $3 million, which would be repaid with the revenue over the course of the 30-year term.
Excuse me, I'd like to make a facilitative comment. Can we let John be excused or let him speak? Allison, he's had a recent death in the family, and it just seems like
I'm so sorry.
torture. Of course,
I wasn't.
You didn't know that. You didn't know that.
No, and I wasn't. I didn't realize who was on the call. I'm so sorry.
No. Thank you, Cassie. I was waiting for a natural break, and we have found it.
You didn't interrupt me anytime. I'm so sorry.
I made the
Stop
break.
it.
Sorry.
It's okay. John took the time to be here. He has his own agency, and thanks for coming, John. It's nice to meet you, John Kostick, our new Chamber Executive Director. Thanks for joining us at EDIC. We appreciate your taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. So I apologize I'm late. I was over at the groundbreaking for City Space. But again, thank you for having me. I'm excited to, hear and listen to what's going on. And I'm just going to put myself on mute and listen. And if there's any questions you might have, just, let me know.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And at any moment, if you're like, you know what, I'd rather not do this, feel free to depart. We are very glad you took the time. I am so sorry for your loss.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Allison, would you like to pick up with my last note is we hoped to borrow $3 million.
Alex said, I'm sorry to have cut you off.
No. Like I said, please at any time do that. I'm used to it, believe me. Anyway, so yes, the $3 million would go towards helping with the Ferry Street Mills being redeveloped, the remaining blighted buildings. So that's before the city council. We'll be talking a lot more about that, I would assume, over the coming months. As I mentioned, there's a lot to the mechanics of it and to the finances of it. I'm not sure what impact the mayor's resignation will have on how that process unfolds. I assume conversations will continue, but probably decisions might wait until a new mayor is elected. Obviously, as John and I both were just at the City Space groundbreaking, that is for the second floor renovations that are being done. It will cover installing an elevator to make the second floor accessible for everybody, and it will be able to be an event space, which is very exciting. I think it will add a lot to the Main Street district of the downtown area, particularly with what else is happening there with the Main Street redesign, the Heavy Culture Collaborative moving into 1 Northampton Street, the former massage school property, and with the library annex. There's just a lot on the horizon that I think is really, really positive stuff. And I'm excited to see it continue to evolve. And lastly, I just wanted to touch base on ECA, Easthampton City Arts. Cultural Chaos was a big success. We were worried about weather, but it turned out that it was a perfect day for it. It wasn't hot. It was just right. And we had some new safety protocols that were implemented, and it sort of changed the setup. The setup and takedown has to happen in a very short amount of time because the street has to be shut down, and there's only certain hours that it can be done, and to accommodate businesses and the police department helping out and everything. But it all went really well. And I think having the safety measures in place in light of unfortunate things that have happened with these types of events in the last few years, I think it just made everybody feel better, and now we know it works, and it can be implemented moving forward, which was good. And lastly, the Easthampton City Arts Group is going to be having a gala on December 4th, and that will be a fundraiser. The details of that are still being worked out, but it is their 20th anniversary, I believe, that they're celebrating. So it'll be a big a celebration and also a fundraiser, and I'll keep you posted as the details of that unfold. Tom?
Allison, any updates on Northampton Street, Tasty Top?
No, I mean, they got their building permit for the bank. I can't recall if that had happened as of the last time I spoke with you all, but the bank, it's Greenfield Savings Bank that's being built up by the street, has their building permit. There are no other building permits issued at this time for any of the other buildings. The bank building will connect to sewer in Northampton Street, whereas the other buildings on the property will need to connect elsewhere through, and it'll require crossing a private property. So I think those sorts of things are being ironed out and will need to be in place before any real progress is made on the rest of the site.
I didn't know if you and or Dave had an opportunity to see the very public social media play out with Frank and the mayor of Holyoke.
I saw the articles, a couple of articles about it, but I didn't see anything on social media. It was unfortunate to see that he's having that problem in other cities.
I was surprised that the mayor got as public as he did, but he made a very lengthy statement on Facebook, and then Frank followed right behind him with his defense. So obviously, as we said from the beginning, while this might overall be a good project for Easthampton, we have to make sure the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think David can probably speak more to the building permit oversight process, at how it's gone to this point. I'm not sure about that.
Yep.
Yeah, they do have a permit application in for the Roots, what do they call it, Development Center. So I had a cursory review of that and found some issues. I got back to the person who is working on that. They're going to, this begins the process where on plan review, departments that have an interest may find problems, and then those are voiced and those things become implemented into the plans. But we do have plans for that project at this point. So
Great.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, so I'm looking forward to taking a peek and seeing how they line up with the conditions of the project that the plan conservation commission put on them.
Yeah. And I did read the news item, you know, that was interesting, about Holyoke. I know all the people involved, and I did work with Frank in, now I'm going to confuse the places, but I believe, yeah, it was East Longmeadow. They have a place there, and that went well. That was fine. No issues. So this maybe could be a one-off. Who knows? So
Good to hear.
Okay. Thanks, Allison, for that. Is there anything else that has been recently on our planning department topics of conversation that people would like some input on?
Well, so I did have an update about the town lodging house. I don't know if anybody wanted
Oh,
to
yeah,
hear more about that.
that'd be great.
Yeah, so initially the plan was for Valley CDC to take over the property and have some affordable housing units, renovating, I guess you could say, the town lodging house building that exists. And they were looking at adding some additional new construction units. That just didn't pan out for a variety of reasons, just feasibility, generally speaking. It just wasn't looking like it was going to be feasible. So the city was in talks with a veteran farmers group. They came, toured the property with us, brought their finance team, a gentleman that runs the veteran farming program in Montana, and also a wellness and overall behavioral health, mental health, wellness practice that would be associated with the veteran farming program. So all of those folks came and toured the property and met with the mayor and some other city officials, and they seemed very interested, and they submitted a formal letter of interest and are working on getting their pro forma together, and it all looks promising, very promising. So the future of that property is starting to come into focus, and it looks like it's going to be continued as a farming operation with an affordable housing component, and the original structure will be kept intact, obviously updated, but largely intact.
cool.
That's great. Does anybody have any follow-up questions, other comments on that topic? I think that's fabulous news. Stupendous. Thanks, Allison. Appreciate that. Okay, Mr. Gardner, thanks for coming today. Really appreciate it. We've been having some on and off conversations about short-term rentals. It's been in the zeitgeist. And we are interested if you have any news for us on the vacant storefront ordinance, which we worked with City Council on, was that about 2,000 years ago? That is actually more like 2 years ago. I don't know. So we're looking for what's our status? What are the highlights? Are there challenges in this process? And you seem ideally situated to fill us in on some of these.
Yeah. So the ordinance was enacted 2 years ago, and what resulted from that was exactly 5 applications in 2023. One of those was a false application. It didn't apply to the property. 1 Northampton Street was sent a letter, and they were asked to apply, and they pointed out that they are not in the downtown business district. So they've just left 4. Those have all been mitigated to this point. Don't have any records of fees. I was looking at the applications and saw that, you know, there's the ordinance contains several waivers that can be applied for. Those can be it's under construction, renovation. Well, that was one of them. I saw a couple of those today, new ones. I actually toured the town and just kind of did to see how many empty storefronts we actually have in the downtown business district. Happy to say the Cottage Street is doing very well. There are 2 empty units there that I could find, and they are actively being advertised for lease or being renovated for to be occupied soon. So no reason to get them involved in anything at this point. The ordinance says 90 days. So if a place is vacant for 91 days, then, you can kind of approach them and say, it's been more than 90 days, you need to register the property. Union Street had 6 that I counted. 2 of them in the strip mall there, across from 7-Eleven. A couple others on the other side of the street that are in process. I know one is being renovated. The other one actually had, probably a month ago now, a person interested in renting it. It was a Latin dance teacher, but was turned down because of concern over playing music in the space. This is right next to Shelburne Coffee Roasters. So that's kind of the thing. I mean, and I believe in the ordinance to a degree that, if we have an empty storefront, it should be occupied, and maybe by getting people involved in the process, they'll be less picky about who their tenants are in cases like that. But one on Main Street that's looked like that pretty much unoccupied the whole time I've lived here, 33 years. It's still there. There were no applications, no indications of any enforcement with that property. But now that I'm more acquainted with the ordinance and all the ins and outs of it, it does need some. I spoke with Salem Derby today about it, and we're going to probably try to tweak it a little bit, here and there. For instance, one of the waivers is financial hardship, but there is no department assigned to who reviews that. The ordinance just simply says by the reviewing board or department. So don't know who would appropriately do that. I immediately think of, like, I don't know, zoning board of appeals, who is like used to looking at stuff like that, or somebody, not me, because the financial hardship kind of thing. But in planning and building, we're going to look at, we are for review of waiver request for spaces that might be under construction, renovation type things. Maybe it's gone on for a long time. Maybe there's a combo kind of waiver kind of thing, like we started to do the renovations, ran out of money, and now we're kind of stuck, kind of thing. But I think it's in pretty good shape. I think in 2023, when this was enacted, there were 20 properties that were counted in the downtown business district, and we are less than half that now. So that's pretty good. And of the ones I just named, 4 of those are clearly being worked on to get ready for new tenants. And I have spoken to 2 parties from the community that are interested in renting spaces either on Cottage or Union. And they were just kind of doing their homework, like what might be required for the type of business that they're opening, what sort of renovations would be necessary. And so I know there's interest, and there aren't that many empty units. So
That's outstanding. Tom Brown?
Dave, what are the concerns or issues we saw that came up since it's been enacted is, and I guess I'm specifically referring to Shop Row. It seems like the storefronts all have banners up, business names up, but there's not really any business activity going on there. And I don't know so I'm talking about between the Silver Spoon and the Botaniste.
sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm not certain. I don't know how we even go about verifying or what have you, but boy, I've sure never seen anyone walk into one of those buildings or out.
Well, one response I could make to that is that, just directing, just looking at the intent of the ordinance. So this was, the intent was to prevent blight. The intent was to not have stores that looked empty, right? At least these don't look empty. They've got signs and things in them. So, and you know, if you walk by, you're going, well, like, it's not an empty storefront. It's not full of junk. You know, it's just a business that maybe isn't going that great, or could be on extended vacation. I have no idea. I don't know how to check up on that either. You know, I generally rely on concerns or complaints expressed by people. You know, they'll call the office and they'll say, you know, what's up with this place, and then I'll do something. But to go out and try to canvass an area and try to figure out what's going on, I don't really have that much time. But I'm happy to give time to concerns that people have, you know, directly about things like that,
Sure.
like a complaint, for instance. So,
Okay, understood.
Cassie. You're muted, lady.
The business card of the same spectrum representative is in those windows as it is down at the other end. So I think I could say pretty safely there's nothing going on there, even if they have a chair in the window. And I couldn't let this conversation end without asking you about Moriarty and Moriarty. Tom, I'm surprised you didn't.
I was next on my list.
well, that's the place I was referring to. That's been that way. I've been here for 33 years. I've often wondered about that. What is up with that place? You know, but there it is. And as I said, no, my predecessors didn't either wasn't on their radars, or, you know, they just, for whatever reason, there were no letters, no applications, you know, from that property to for this purpose. So I don't know what to say to that, but I'm happy to, you know, I will send out a communication and try to bring that one into compliance in some way. So
Yeah, Casey Douglas could tell you a lot about the condition of the place without ceilings and rats and stuff like that.
yeah, I read the property card. So that when the assessors went in, you know, they made a note that the ceiling was damaged from leaky roof. And I can only imagine, you know, it's been, say, just sitting there with no repairs to my knowledge, no building permit history for anything like that. So
I'm pretty confident, Dave, that building would ultimately be a tear down.
Yeah.
But as I think you know, that's the same owner as the properties we're talking about on Chop Row.
yeah, and I would say maybe something positive about a property he formerly owned, and that's 4 Holyoke Street. That's underway now, so that's pretty good.
The key word, Dave, was formerly owned.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of helped that along. The health department and I kind of, and the fire department, we all teamed up on that one and tried to force that one to a conclusion. And it turned out there was a young man who was interested in buying the property, and kind of helped that door open for him, and now it's happening. You know, I was holding my breath because, you know, it's a young guy and I don't know what his resources are, but a lot of sweat equity in that one. He and his uncle are doing that. And when they first just propped up the porch on the front, the porch roof, and I got a few calls on that one, like people being concerned, like that looked kind of sketchy. And I said, no, it looks pretty good. And now they've got the columns up and they're building the front porch, and they're going to redo the back porches, not totally, but just improve them. Has 4 units in it, in case you didn't know, 4 apartment units, and it's actually surprisingly intact on the inside. It looks very nice.
Oh, nice.
Most of them, anyway. Most of the units. But
Yeah, that's
David,
gonna
I'm really excited that you're starting to enforce this. And while it's heartening that there are half as many vacant storefronts now, it's when they're so concentrated as they are on Main Street in a single space, it looks gross.
Yeah, I think just Shop Row kind of has a bit of a problem anyways. Parking, is a big problem there. And I don't know, maybe that's, or as you say, building maintenance might be part of the problem. Rent and building, just general maintenance might be part of the problem. I don't know. But yeah, I've noticed that businesses kind of come and go. And Spot and East is great anchor. Wings and Things, that's been great. But the other shops kind of float around.
Yeah. Okay. It's very helpful to get that perspective. I'm glad you had a chance to acquaint yourselves with it, and whoever's idea it was to invite the building commissioner to this meeting, good job you. I'm glad you're part of our group.
Yay.
So,
When
Fletcher or anyone
Yeah.
who would like to pose a question to Mr. Gardner about short-term rentals, and Cassie will have something to say before that. Go ahead.
I can talk now.
You can
Okay.
talk.
May I please have special permission to be excused? I'm at a dog hotel and my dog is chomping at the bit to go swimming. So may I please be excused? You won't be taking any votes, will you?
We will not be voting except to leave the meeting. So shall we vote on whether Cassie must be restrained from playing with her dog? Have a really good time.
Thank you. Ash, thanks you too. Bye.
Bye, Cassie.
David Kutcher, do you have specific points you'd like to bring up about short-term rentals? Or would we like to get a bit of a download from Mr. Gardner?
I would love a download.
Okay. So we understand that there have been some ongoing experiences with people doing short-term rentals or a bed and breakfast style, or some kind of, here's an apartment or here's a whole house that is being rented out, and some kind of cease and desist about that. Can you give us some more information about how the city or you or representative groups in the city are thinking about short-term rentals?
Sure. Yeah. And probably a good place to start is at the beginning, where I did receive a complaint about a whole house short-term rental in the middle of a neighborhood. I followed up on the complaint and found that short-term rentals were not on the use table. And according to our use table, anything that is not on the use table is prohibited. So based on that, I issued a cease and desist. That opened up where we are currently with the city working on regulations for short-term rentals. So, and the mayor enacted a moratorium essentially on enforcement of those while the regulations are being finished out at this point. So there's already a draft that's been through several hearings at the ordinance committee level, and sometime, probably not too long from now, it will go before a joint hearing, public hearing with the city council and the planning board. So that's, that's pretty much it. So
Okay, Tom Brown.
Dave Gardner, do you know roughly what the result of that ordinance will be?
If it stays on the course that it's taking, I expect that it will be approved. Hopefully in discussion, some things will come up. I did read past minutes from EDIC meetings to see from, the first time your committee took it up. Notice in the minutes some concerns, and one of the concerns was economic impact report. How do short-term rentals, honestly, what do they do for the city? And it's easy. I mean, what I've heard is, well, tourism is good for the city. We don't have any hotels and motels, so therefore short-term rentals are good for the city. That's kind of the stream of logic that's being used. But There have been to my knowledge, no studies done at all on what the true impact is. I would point out, and this is more coming from my personal view as a 33-year resident of Easthampton, that, and also somebody who has been following the post Affordable Housing Act and all of the concern about the shortage of rental spaces for people who want to live in the city and work in the city. And short-term rentals undeniably reduce the number of rental opportunities for people who want to work and live in the city. So I'm not anti short-term rental. I just think it has to be looked at carefully to see, to balance it with the express desire of the town, of the city, to provide affordable housing and market rate housing for people who want to live and work here. So right now, I can tell you from my experience in South Hadley, I responded to a complaint lodged against a short-term rental there. Same thing, exactly. There was short-term rentals were not allowed. The town worked on it. They created both a general ordinance and a zoning ordinance, and they put a cap of the cap on 25. Now they also have similar short-term accommodation concerns in that the college is located there. The college had a hotel, but limited number of rooms. So all in all, in the end, they put the cap at 25. Now, South Hadley has a population that's just slightly larger than Easthampton. I think they're in 17.5 or about 16.5. So they capped it at 25 and also put allowed for some mixed types. So 5 are whole house, but for houses that are located in a commercial district. You know, like every town, rezoning would put some residential buildings in commercial districts after rezoning. So it was thought, well, for whole house rentals, commercial districts make sense, but not in the middle of a neighborhood. The use of a home in the middle of a neighborhood with not owner occupied home, it's the whole house, has been shown to be disruptive to the routines of people who actually live in the neighborhood. You know, for instance, work weeks, kids going to school, stuff like that. You got somebody next door who's in vacation mode, and they're just not a good mix, in my opinion. But so in South Hadley, they dealt with the very same issue. We came to a conclusion there, and there were there were far fewer. I found 14 initially, and then by the time got down to having places register and make their places compliant, there was down to about 8. So because compliance is short-term rentals are treated differently from 1 and 2 family dwellings. So some things had to be done, like alarm systems, emergency lights, exit signs, things like that. Some people just felt that was too much hassle. So they kind of quit, dropped out.
That's useful. All right, we've had a download. We got follow-up questions or suggestions for EDIC action based on what we've learned. Tom Brown.
I think you answered my question, Dave, but like what the end result might be. So you think it might be an approval of short-term rentals with some sort of limit?
Well, so it's varied because the current ordinance is being written to accommodate the people who are already operating short-term rentals.
Okay.
So you had a varied, you had whole house, you had partials, you had apartments, you know, half of a duplex, all parts of town. So it was very, it's kind of trying to accommodate people who are already operating. So therefore, and that kind of complicates things a little bit. I mean, it's only for buildings. So something that's really important to know is, and this gets away from zoning and more into building, is that the building code, now we're in the 10th edition, and the 10th edition requires short-term rentals, portions of homes or even whole buildings used for short-term rentals have to be equipped with a 13D fire sprinkler system. So, you know, that's something people will be reluctant to do. There's been some pushback on that, but it kind of held up over the state just issued a memorandum on that a week ago, and it upheld everything in the building code, you know, how to approach this. The good news is that most of the Airbnbs, in fact, I'd say all of them in town, are existing in existing buildings. So we actually have several building codes in a way. So we have in residential code, there's new residential code, then there is existing building code. So the existing building code allows the permitting official or the building official to accept an alternative approach that meets the same level of safety. So where sprinklers are expensive and pretty ugly, honestly, when you put them in an existing building, something that could be acceptable in not every situation, but in some, maybe most, is an alarm system. And that's what the fire chief in District 2 in South Hadley and I arrived at for 2 properties in District 2 was simple, an alarm system with emergency lights, horn strobes in the sleeping rooms, things like that. So I can do that, but just pointing out that the building code says that they would be sprinklered. So that's the starting point, and then it's just looking at situations and seeing what works.
Thank you.
Any other follow-up here? Okay. This was really useful. It will give us food for thought. I will pay attention to the ordinance committee agendas to see how those conversations are going down and share that with the crew. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be here, Mr. Gardner and Allison. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. I think, barring anyone else's sudden revelation, that we now are at liberty to depart. Any thoughts on this topic? No? All right. Well, listen. All in favor, holler aye, let's go. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Have
everybody.
a wonderful afternoon. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Till possibly October. We'll find out.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.